And welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at taking things a bit more casual than we normally do and how to power down your commander decks. I'm Levi.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the Thought Vessel. Welcome to the show. We are without Jacoby because life happens, but we have two very special guests with us today. We have JM and Octavia from Trying Casually.
And especially since we are, in fact, trying to bring the power down, you can absolutely say that we're trying casually.
Oh, I love that. That's a good segue.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, absolutely. We are Trying Casually. I am JM, one half of Trying Casually, and we are trying to bring you local game store feel meets kitchen table. And I will pass it over to Octavia to give her half. But yeah.
I am Octavia. I'm the trying half. I have no chill when it comes to
Very accurate.
That was pretty perfect. Yeah.
We like it. So normally with these kind of things, just to get to know you a bit better, we'd like to start with the origin story. Before we get into the stream itself or the main topic, how did you get into Magic to begin with? Like, what was your igniting the spark moment?
I was 12 when Magic came out, and it seemed like a good time. And I had to hide all my cards from my parents because they were demonic, and I liked black, and there was that unholy strength with the pentagram on it that I had to really, really hide.
So basically, it looked like you were worshiping a cult even more.
A little bit. They weren't wrong. It was just a wrong cult.
Oh, fair. Yeah, it was just the cult of Demir.
Notably, a lot of people's favorite color combination don't really run those kinds of decks.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was a weird kid. I mean,
Second only to Golgari, according to our poll that we did in Atlanta.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Demir is second
Golgari.
only to Golgari.
Golgari, then Demir, and then it kind of got to a hodgepodge of a bunch of different colors. But that was the main two, at least in the Atlanta area. I'm not sure what y'all are doing down there, but you're causing ruckus.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
derogatory.
JM, how about you?
Mine's a little bit easier. I started in 2018, core set 2019. A bunch of buddies that were working with me at the job I used to work in. I used to design weightlifting equipment at a place. So I fabricated and designed weightlifting equipment, and a bunch of the people in my department all started playing. So we'd go to their house and like have a beer, chill out, play Magic. And we got into Standard at the time. And then my other buddies, ironically, got into Commander around the same time from my D&D play group. So then I played my first game of Commander, and it was Muldrotha. I won, and it was single-handedly like the funnest experience I'd ever have at Magic at that time. And I like never went back.
More Sultai players, because Chiante was the exact same way.
Yeah. In fact, I have Mimeoplasm that I've rebuilt half a dozen times. It's been Infect, it's been Dinosaurs, it's been a bunch of stuff. I've never have anything that's found that like itch, but I want it to be Mimeoplasm.
Let's keep building it. Mimeoplasm, very interesting card. I'll be interested to see if we get more of those types of commanders down the line at some point.
Yeah.
We haven't really anything quite like that in some time. There's been a couple that have like done a little bit of exiling with different counters and things, but nothing quite to that capacity. So
yeah, and I did pull the new Mimeoplasm too, so I feel like it was a message. Need to get back into that deck.
You can wait for the Pride Commander event and just run both Mimeoplasms together.
Oh my god, just oozing all over the place.
Gross.
Double your sliming, double your
Let's
fun. Oh
Let's
my
talk a little
God.
bit about the stream itself. So how did the Trying Casually stream come out to be?
Oh god, okay, so this is actually part mine, and then Octavia can take over from her part. So basically, shout out to the Commander Social, who I don't think they're making content right now. I think they're on a bit of hiatus. But Zach and his co-host, really amazing people, put out a podcast called Commander Social. You can go look at their old episodes. They basically focus on the casual aspect of Commander, a lot like us, similar to us, trying to make the friends, and then the magic happens in the background type of thing. And so they hosted this Discord in Texas called the Mothership because that's where they are both from. So ironically, I started playing pickup games in that Discord, and I met this person named Octavia, and she basically was like the best player I'd ever met at that time, but was also like not an asshole. You know what I mean? Like if she was going to win, she'd explain it why she was winning. She was explaining why she was doing it, and she was explaining why that you could stop it or like where you can interact. And like as a newer person in Commander, I felt like that was a very like cool thing to be a part of. So I kind of just followed her around digitally almost and was like, hey, Octavia, do you want to like keep doing stuff? And like I basically came to her and I was like, hey, do you want to do this show with me? I've basically set it up and you kind of just have to show up.
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. It was just, all right, there's this weird kid that's just following me around.
Hey, I was a weird
Oh.
adult. Thank you.
Fair point.
Fair point. And it was
I mean,
like, oh, okay, yeah, you want to do the show? Sure. I mean, do I have to do anything? No, just
Yeah.
show up. Okay.
Well, and so it was like in the heat of fucking COVID too. So like we legitimately had nothing to do.
It was true. We had nothing at all to do. It was like late 2020, early 2021, and it was just, I mean, yeah, sure, I'll play Magic 3 days a week. I don't care. What else am I doing?
your
And
best.
like our first episodes, they were like not even live. We just recorded them. They were like with randoms on Spell Table. We had to like ask for consent. So like the first 10 minutes of it's not a Rule Zero conversation. It's a, hey, we're trying to make this YouTube show. And like we were trying to figure out like what our identity was.
It was special. Yeah, you get some really weird people or responses from people about, hey, can we record this? It's like,
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
or yes, and then they are
Proceeded
the
to
most
get
awful,
pub stomped.
or they are the most awful human beings in the planet. There was one that was like yelling at a kid and was kind of racist and was just, oh dear. It was
Yeah, you
like,
have to like immediately like pause. Yeah.
The kid was at the place, like at
At-
their home that they were
in
yelling
their
at, or was
home.
he,
Yeah,
like,
you'd
yelling
hear
at
them like
them.
in the background yelling at a child.
Oy. That is the very memey thing from that one guy who's just like, I'm about to go into this fight and I'm going to post the recording afterward. And then he replies to his own post, I ain't posting that. I got my ass beat.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and it's like the dichotomy of being a live stream because you have some of the most raw and pure moments, and like you can clip them and they're very viral and they're very good, but also people are just trash.
Yeah, I guess
Boy.
that was another thing I was gonna ask you. Touched on it a little bit. So in early days, kind of having random people on Spell Table, I'm sure you saw just a lot of really weird stuff. Was there any
yes.
like what was the? I'm sure there was a good amount of just like pub stop being like, well, if I'm going to go on the show, I might as well just pull everybody out. Or I'm sure there was some. I'm going to just copy thieves auction and stuff just a bunch of times and just cause absolute chaos and stuff that cannot be done on webcam.
So to be fair, Octavia could sense a bunch of that.
I was going to
since
say,
she was
bless
more
their
of the
heart, they
competitive
tried.
player. And like, if she can see a strategy coming, she will kind of hold up stuff and be like, okay, this person is my target, and everything else is kind of incidental.
Octavia had to hit them with the bless your heart.
It's like, oh, you're trying to expropriate, or you're trying to temporal expropriation the table 6 times in a row. Yeah, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to stop you from doing that, and you can go eat shit.
So you try to handle it in game. You wouldn't just like,
Oh, yeah.
all right, we're going to cut the recording and get a new.
We've tried to handle most everything literally in game. Like, I don't think we've only cut the show a couple times.
I want to say there's been like 2 or 3, and it was one, the really obvious racist guy, one where there was an actual like argument, full on almost yelling argument, and then like one other one where a dude was doing, I don't even remember the third one, but there was
I think it was like obvious drugs.
Yeah, it was like obvious drugs, and it was like, we stop it for
TOS reasons.
Yeah, like TOS, as opposed to someone's being a jerk, and we can handle
because to be fair, you see those situations, and these are real situations you would see at the LGS. You don't get to choose who you play with, and now we kind of get to like pick and choose who we get to play with, and like we have a great community of like amazing people who genuinely want to play with us, and like there's almost never any salty interaction. I feel like the salty interactions are more in between me and Octavia, and a lot of that is just for show.
I was gonna say, and even then,
but we play up a lot of the ham because it's just funny.
Oh yeah.
Like I think the most recent one was the 990 life. I was of two minds. Like I was like, this is genuinely funny, but also I was genuinely salty.
I was gonna say we were both genuinely salty, but I'm pretty sure we were both hamming that up because we were on camera.
Yeah, like it was both like I was also salty, but I could also realize that I was salty and was also doubling down.
So where was the cactuar out of nowhere, though?
No, we didn't have one.
We didn't have one. I decided to play a Blink Angels deck and gain 18 trillion life, but Spell Table only goes up to 9999.
Yeah, so in my mind, you should only get 999 life because that's like a doable number. That's like the Final Fantasy boss.
And then he swung for I think it was 78, and he was like, "Yeah, go down 78." I was like, "Nuh-uh."
Yeah, see, in my mind, I want to see the number go down. I
Yeah.
big bonk. Give me big bonk number.
So, JM, the issue with that is it went down to a different 999.
Yeah, I believe you were also in that game. You were also like explaining it, and I was like, I don't need two of you. I understand it. It doesn't make me feel better.
Oh, yeah.
I big bonk. I want big bonk number.
Unga Bunga did not resolve, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm a hammer side main in Monster Hunter. Weirdly, I'm an
One of the-
insect first.
It is sad whenever I see the cactar and stuff coming out, and my first initial thought is, one day I'm going to get a chance to deflecting palm this thing, and it's going to be hilarious.
Nuh-huh.
Or Ink
I'm waiting for
Shield.
Ink Shield.
Yeah,
because
Arachnogenesis is coming back.
I'm going to get 20,000 power back from ink shielding, and then I'm going to ruin someone's day.
You're going to ruin everyone's day with that.
I still find it hilarious that there are so many people on TikTok that are just like, ban the cactus, ban the cactus. Like, what are you talking about?
No, so
No.
the cactus plus Chandra's ignition is pretty hilarious.
Play the cactus. It's
I think
hilarious.
that's a good
Wh-
transition though. So when we look at kind of different power levels kind of on the stream and stuff, because we don't have a universal, we have some game changers, but we don't have a universal, like, this is a super powerful card. This is just a like okay card. Like, we don't have the universal threat assessment, as it will. So do you ever come up across times where someone might build a deck that they believe to be a bracket 2, but it's more like a bracket 3, and then someone else has got more like a bracket 1, and then you just have kind of a hodgepodge of different levels? Octavia, it's raising her hand.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a thing where pilot skill is not accounted for and should be. Because obviously if a brand new person plays a 2, it's going to be a 2 or a 1. But if a seasoned player who's been playing the game for almost their whole, the game, and then has also done competitive or just like various things, I'm obviously not just the Octavia, because there's 1,000 Octavias out there. And like Octavia is not a bad person because she builds good decks. You know what I mean? Like, also shouldn't be punished because she's a good pilot.
I have an Ayula deck that is, on paper, a
Yeah.
bracket 2.
And that's another
I
thing.
can
Synergies and stuff like that aren't accounted for.
It can get really mean.
I know exactly what you mean, because that Hashaton deck that I built was slated at a 2. I've since upgraded it to actually have the 4 combos of Peregrine, Drake, and Talancron, but on paper it was a 2, and that thing got nasty.
It got
Yeah,
real
yeah.
out of hand real fast. Yep.
And I think also with that same note of adding things too, but I think time in the fire is something that should be evaluated into the deck. So not necessarily the experience of the pilot, definitely something that should be addressed. But when I'm playing a game of Commander and I see 2 decks on the table that are like kind of within the last couple of years that have come out, and then I see like Kalia or a Brago or something like Oloro, like a really old commander, I'm like, you've had this for a while. I'm worried because if there's any weaknesses or flaws in your decks, you've probably figured them out.
You've addressed them.
Either you've addressed them or you've just kind of embraced the suck and be like, I'm going to leave an avenue for someone to beat this. But more often than not, like, you're going to have something in the deck to deal with. I know my deck's really bad against flyers, so maybe I'll add in some flying, death-touching creatures or something that gives everybody reach, or just have a way to address it.
No, double down on synergies every time.
And that's how you lose.
No,
I win
don't double down on
games.
synergy. More draw. Always more card draw. Draw
Yeah,
yourself
I kind of
out.
agree. I kind of go more synergy. Just go harder.
Even then, Joe knows the story of when I first was starting to learn how to play, and I was at a local game store. I was playing a mono white equipment Voltron deck. This was probably around like 2018, so pre-pandemic, pre a lot of extra stuff coming out to kind of ramp up that kind of archetype. I was playing against one of the decks that table was a mono black control that had a lot of aristocratic, everyone's going to sacrifice the creature stuff. So I was just not in the game. Like, I was getting smoked. Like, I had no way to deal with it. I'd play my commander, it'd get sacrificed, play it again, get sacrificed. And I did not have an answer in the deck to stop it. I was like, well, this clearly was not the pod for me. And the player at the table, not in a malicious way or anything, but just kind of said like, okay, so your deck is weak against aristocrat or sacrifice effects. What are you going to do about it? So and that was a big level up moment for me. And so instead of just dismissing it as a rule zero snafu or whatever, just actually go through my deck and try to figure out, okay, if that happens again, what can I do to prevent myself from just being totally out of the game? Some archetypes, if you're playing a graveyard deck and someone's constantly Bajuka bogging your graveyard, not much you can do about that unless you can deflect it elsewhere. There's a lot of times that you can just kind of level up and figure out what you're trying to do and kind of get yourself to a new level. But I think when you do that and you're constantly closing off vulnerabilities, that's when we start creeping up the brackets. My next question is with that is, do you think that the brackets in a way from 2 to 3 to 4, 5 is how many vulnerabilities a deck might have?
I don't think so, because a lot of the stuff, I mean, with CDH specifically, you are playing with a tournament meta in mind. If you are not building to a specific tournament meta, it is a bracket 4. And in a specific tournament setting, there will be vulnerabilities you leave open because those are not viable strategies within that tournament meta. You could leave an opening for aristocrats in a Yuriko deck because you're not going to see a lot of long-term sacrifice at that particular tournament. Even though the vulnerability is there, it doesn't matter because it's not something that shows up. Now, when you start talking about bracket 4, yes, that does come in at least to a point because you are building the deck with as many optimized cards. You are putting in your 1-drop and free removal. You are putting
almost
in
tools.
your changers. You are making a toolkit out of the deck. And there will still be vulnerabilities, but if you know what they are, you get to play around them. And that comes more from the deck building aspect. And I think that leaving the vulnerabilities in and knowing how to deal with them is sometimes better than actually closing off said vulnerability.
Or like sometimes I will, like Octavia said, like a CDH thing, I'm going to leave something open because like obviously this deck is just not going to be good against this thing. So like try not to face those types of decks. Obviously in our like meta or community, we can kind of focus and be like, oh, well, this deck is going to shut me down, so I'm just not going to play that. A bunch of my decks have clear cut things like, oh, this is going to stop this deck. And in my playstyle, I feel like that doesn't really necessarily matter. We play kind of casually. It's more of like having a conversation and like magic just kind of happens. So like most people aren't necessarily paying full attention or the most optimized attention.
Speaking of the bracket 4, we played a game yesterday actually on stream. Was it yesterday or was this Sunday? It was the game where I played Yuriko. I think that was Sunday.
That was Sunday, yeah.
We had a rule 0, and everyone was like, okay, we're playing bracket 4s. And one of them was Corval, and one of them was Maha. And I was like, cool, we're playing degenerate shit. Because neither of those decks are chill. So I brought out my Yuriko, and on turn 2...
I also had Iron Man.
There was Iron Man too. But on turn 2, the Corval player played a 1-ring, and I was like, okay, good, I brought the right deck, and then proceeded to deal 160 damage to the table on turn 4. Accidentally smoking the entire table.
Yeah, because it was like the Corvo player basically played out all of their best cards on turn 1.
Yeah, it was like an Ancient Tomb into a Soul Ring, and then on turn 2, they played like a Chrome Box and the 1-ring, and I was like, all right, cool, we're doing this.
Yeah, we also had 2 treasures.
I was like, here we go. Crush, 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 crush.
So let's talk about that real quick. You brought up the treasures. So on your stream, you have the ability for the chat to provide resources to different players in the game as they want to allocate. Sometimes it's universal. Everyone gets a 2/2 zombie. Sometimes you could assign a player the monarch. How have you seen that affect the game, especially from like a different bracket perspective? I'm sure giving a treasure to somebody in a bracket 4 is going to do a lot more than a bracket 2.
It makes games go by a lot faster. It makes games a lot punchier. And I feel like it makes chat feel like they are interacting more. I feel like the whole thing is like you're hanging out with your friends at your LGS. So chat is basically like the people at your LGS that watch you and be like, oh, what are you guys playing? And they will like sometimes fuck with you. You know what I mean? You've ever had those like LGS experience where your buddies come over and you're talking and like mess around with your cards or something like that. It's sort of like similar to that situation. Or like you're at like a house party and you're playing Magic and like somebody like messes around with your deck, shuffles your deck for you or whatever. Just something silly. But yeah, that's kind of like the thought behind it. Like, so that they feel like they are involved with us hanging out. It definitely makes games go a lot faster.
Because a lot of the stuff is providing resources as opposed
Yeah,
to
yeah. Or like Descent to Avernus is one of our more recent ones. So like somebody gets an emblem that is literally a Descent to Avernus.
Is it like instant speed that the stuff comes in, or is it more like a sorcery speed? Like it has to be in a main phase.
It's yes. It depends on if a person is like casting a spell or in combat, and like it would go to the next part that would have priority, technically, is how we've been doing it.
Mostly it's what's funniest.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, that too.
Look, I'm a sucker for a good bit.
If chat kills a player, when is it funniest for them to die?
Because I know that Octavia has come on to the stream one time when she couldn't make it, and I was in that pod to just try and kill a player with the -1 life.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, I've also incorporated that because I recently hit affiliate, so I've also added that into my point
Congratulations.
sticks.
Oh, amazing.
They are very fun.
It
Wheeling is very fun. Chat loves the wheel.
I hate when people wheel so much. I draw
Yeah.
so many cards. I sculpt my hand, and then suddenly all of those cards are gone.
Just like when somebody wheels inside the game. Oh no!
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it goes.
It wheels in game too.
And then you get
Unless
all
I'm-
excited for the next
unless
7
I'm
cards,
doing
and
them.
5 of them are lands. It's trash.
Exactly.
Straight
No,
trash.
Octave would have to run more lands for that to statistically happen.
Getting
Called
called
out.
out.
Yeah. You know,
It-
no one needs more than 4 land. Ever.
except all the green players, ever.
Well,
Of all.
they can be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong. I understand
But-
that.
Octavia, I will say every time, I need at least 7, one of them being Field of the Dead.
Fair. Okay. That's an exception.
But I need a strip mine, apparently. That's where we're going. Ultimately, one thing we should note at the time of recording, this is being recorded before any announcements or updates to the bracket system
Mhm.
that is
Yeah, I
coming.
think we're technically still in beta.
We are.
Yeah, so we are currently in beta. So as it stands right now, just a quick covering. So bracket 2, we're assuming is more like your pre-con level decks. Bracket 3 is the upgraded, kind of where a lot of the 7s fall, honestly. And then 4 is your optimized, kind of your anything goes, but this is no restrictions as far as any mass land denial, extra turns, and you can run as many game changers as you want. So just to clarify that now, and then we have the traditional game changer level. Let's kind of talk a little bit about if someone that listening had a deck that was at a 3, but they feel like maybe they want to move it into bracket level 2. They just think that they'll have more fun with the deck, or maybe the synergies are more appropriate for the level. So what would you do to take a deck from a 3 to a 2?
I feel like my Adrix and Nev is probably the easiest to address here because technically it is a bracket 3, but a lot of times it plays like a bracket 2. It's very flip-floppy. It needs like very specific pieces to be very powerful. It's either like overrunning the board or I am basically dirtling. I feel like bracket 2 could be its better home probably. Obviously, I would need to take out like Ristic Study and a Mystic Remora. I just love those cards. That's probably why 2s are very hard for me to build, just because I love my game changers are always Ristic Study, Mystic Remora if it's a blue deck, or Blast Act and stuff like that. I don't think that's in the game changers list, but yeah.
I don't think Mr. Gamora is.
Mystic
Mystic
Remora is in
Remora
fact
is
not in there.
Yep. it
Yeah,
is not
see,
a
but
game
see, for me personally, I consider it a game changer because it does one of the effects that a game changer does. Like Esper Sentinel is not on the game changers list, but I consider it on the game changers list because it's basically a Ristic Study.
I don't know. I feel like CDH has really overhyped that card, personally.
Well, to be fair, there's been times where it has stopped Octavia from going off because A, she's had to think about mana, and B, think about me drawing cards. In our meta, I feel like it actually does a little bit of work.
That's only because you have someone who pays their taxes.
Doesn't want to pay their taxes.
Well, I mean,
Shout out to Ruby.
Ultimately, though, we have a lot of what I kind of refer to as reverse stacks cards. So your Ristic Study, Smothering Tithe, instead of like
Mhm.
bogging the players down, it's if you don't do this, you're going to shoot someone to the moon. I don't think we can necessarily put like every single one of those reverse stacks cards on the game
No, God,
changers
no.
list. Definitely an interesting conversation, but it'll be interesting too because I kind of wish that bracket level 2 got like, and we've talked about this on the show, potentially like give bracket 2 one game changer, and I'd be okay putting Soul Ring on the game changer list.
Do it, Wizards. Do us a favor.
It would make things a little bit less awkward. Like it's a bracket 2 because it's a pre-con, but it has a Soul Ring. You just have It can be a
Well,
little bit awkward, or they would give them ability to maybe put a potential game changer in the deck,
well, I
but
mean,
then you just omit the Soul Ring kind of thing.
if you look at decks, technically, the MKM Precon, 2 of them are game changers. Yeah, 2 of them are bracket 3s. So Precons aren't bracket 2. Precons are whatever bracket they fit into.
Well,
So
so
I
is
think
that a Universes Beyond?
no, these
No.
are Murders at Karlov Manor. One of them had Trouble in Pairs, and another one of them had Jeska's Will. They are both technically bracket 3 decks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like Calamax had Deflecting SWAT.
Had Deflecting SWAT. Before it got banned, Dockside would have been on the Game Changers list, and that was in one of the 2018s. They build both brackets 2 and 3 for precons, and they did mention this when they were talking about it, eventually maybe putting the bracket of the commander deck on the packaging. Once they finalized it and actually got to this, because they want it to be more standardized. And I
Well, so
think
to be fair, they also used to do this where they weren't very good at it before, where it was like expert level master, or you know what I mean, where it was
that was actually a marketing thing, and that was less a game changer thing because they labeled all.
Oh well, yeah. That was back in like the 90s. Also, shout out to the expert level hat I got at Vegas.
Nice.
I do need to give me one of those at some point. If they're wanting to do that, then I think they really need to solidify a bit more what your 2 is going to be. Because for me, I've always like power level 2 is I'm building a deck that's designed to duke against precons. Like my buddies that are just getting into Magic, they bought a random precon. Usually it's a stronger one because they'll ask me for advice and I'll like not lead them towards something that's trash.
Sure.
And then I'm looking at decks like, okay, can this hold up against the mono black Warhammer 40K deck? Whatever it might be. When I look at taking things from a 3 to a 2, I'm looking more towards, is there any cards in my deck that a precon is just simply not going to handle well, or just will not be able to do anything about?
Honestly, if you want to bring it down, probably the best way to do that is going to be to junk up your removal. We have very efficient
less optimized removal that also does something else for you. Like bounces a creature, but you draw a card, or get energy, or...
Well, actually, I'm talking about using those and more getting rid of the Swan Songs, the Force of Despair, the Deflecting SWAT, the Swords to Plowshares, the Unwanted Remake, and using some of the less efficient things like Mortify or Utter End, not Price of Progress.
Also, shout out to those two, because those two also both exile. Like they may be more expensive, but they also exile. So I feel like those are also equally as powerful.
They are quite powerful, but going toward those higher costed, the ones that you really have to think more about whether or not you leave up the mana to cast them, because that really does kind of pump the brakes on what you can do and how you can interact with people.
In the same strain, I think you could also make a case for the ones that are actually still reasonably costed, but they're not instant speed, like your
also
Vindicate.
Yes, that's the other thing, is you can keep the efficiency if you sorcery speed them, or you put all the instants at, they're going to cost you 4, 5, 6 mana, because that's going to be a lot of mana to leave up.
Well, also, I feel like a lot of the MDFCs fit into that too. I feel like that's going to be a way to provide a land, but also a spell that could also make a deck more powerful or less powerful, depending on how you use them.
Well, I was going to say, hot take, don't put MDFCs in your deck if you want it to be less powerful, because all of the MDFCs are powerful both late game and early game, because you are basically, it is a free land or a spell, depending on when you draw it.
There are
some more than others.
I think what I would say, and I agree with you, Octavia, I think the difference between power is there's floor power and ceiling power. MDFC are very strong floor power because it can just basically just be your land drop if you need it, or I get an extra piece of removal. I get to draw a bunch of cards, no max hand size for the rest of the game. I get to protect my thing, whatever it might be. The versatility is usually never like super sexy effect, but just having the option of getting that is really nice.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is if you really want to power down, then not having flexibility, being a little less flexible, get old, stop being flexible.
Oh,
just
no.
like real life.
My bones! My
Yeah.
bones!
Stop stretching.
Oh no! I can't move anymore!
Or I feel like this is more of an easier thing. Commit to your playstyle. Like if you have like a mill deck, unfortunately, like it's not a bad example kind of for a 2 thing. If you're playing like a ninja typal, really lean into ninjas. Double down. Don't go for the optimized spell that have nothing to do with a ninja. Go for the things that kind of feel like a ninja. My Yuriko deck was probably the most casual Yuriko deck a Yuriko deck could ever have been. But that's because I was running like grappling hook. My lands were Japanese, and
Grappling hook. JM out here
Grappling-
being Mabel from Gravity Falls.
yo, I love that
Absolutely.
deck so much, and I would hard cast Yuriko, and Octavia would tell me like I'm brainstorming wrong.
I mean, yeah,
Everybody brainstorms wrong. Surprise.
correct.
When your brain doesn't work, everybody brainstorms wrong.
Are you brainstorming? You're doing it wrong.
Yuriko is an interesting one too, because this will be coming out after our stream on the 8th that I'll be joining. I am actually building a ninja typal deck for the stream. I'm building it at a bracket 2. Yuriko is not my commander, but Yuriko is in the 99. By logic, it's technically going to be considered a bracket 3 because there's a game changer in there. But the reason most of the time that Yuriko is considered a game changer is because of the commander ninjutsu. So it gets kind of weird.
You know what? I'll give you that. That one, Yuriko is scary, but not that scary if you can't recast her every time she dies for free, basically.
So
And can you commander ninjutsu from your hand if she?
cannot.
Yes, actually. It actually does have that in the Rhymer deck.
It is just ninjutsu from your hand. It just
So,
allows
yeah,
you to also do it from the command zone.
So I'll be getting it at some point, and it'll just be just a ninja at that point with the rest of the deck. So
Mhm.
very
Yeah, it's
straightforward.
just a slightly more powerful ninja that like makes your win con.
Or I just never draw it, and then it's not a problem.
True.
Also fair.
So it's kind of interesting that there are certain game changers that you probably could bring down to 2 if you're just not using them in that capacity. That
Yeah,
just
see, that's
kind-
like the old band as commander list.
yeah.
Mhm.
If we were going to still do that, I think there'd be an excellent case for Yuriko to be like game changer as commander, kind of a thing. Because I don't think
Yeah.
anyone's having a problem with it in the 99.
No, in the
No, I think
99
that would be
fine.
absolutely fine. Yeah, like I said, it's a win con, and like ninjas don't necessarily have a big win con without her.
Yeah.
Not really, because they're not super evasive, and you got to get through on unblocked attackers. And once they're
Mhm.
out, they're
Yeah, you're going like cover of darkness, but I believe that's on the. Is that on the game changer?
No.
Well, let me look.
No, it is not.
Hell yeah! So you could cover of darkness it. Arguably, I believe that should be a game changer.
JM just throwing out cards that aren't game changers. That's probably a game changer, right?
It's
by the,
gotta
end of
be.
this, by the end of this podcast, Jam's going to say that Island should be a game changer.
I mean,
It should
Wait,
be.
is it not? Wait.
Is it not? Wait, it's not. Holy shit! Damn, let's get that shit on there.
I say
All right,
nerf all my picks.
Let's shift towards going from 4 to 3. I think this one's a little bit easier. A lot of it's mindset. I know whenever I'm playing at 4, 3, and 2, that requires me a different type of player. Normally, when the things that I'm going to be proceeding as threats, when I use my removal on, things I'm letting slide, it definitely changes depending on what bracket I'm at. Bracket level 2, Levi is a lot more chill in a game than bracket level 4 Levi.
I disagree. Levi is never chill. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to this
Played
audience.
all of one game with me in the past month. Don't give me that.
I have a history of playing with you. Don't give me that.
You come for the
Uh,
king, you best not miss.
Just because I miss a lot doesn't mean that you still don't have chill gamings.
With that being said, going from a 4 to a 3, outside of the obvious, like cut the game changers, get it down to like your 3 that you get, what other things are you doing to try to get a deck into the bracket 3 category versus keeping it up at 4?
I mean, you got to remove the mass land destruction as well. That's also important.
Yeah, so obviously no mass land denial, no chaining extra turns, no
was gonna
late
say-
game 2 card, no early game 2 card invictus.
Yeah, I was going to say remove your Thoracle, your Demonic Tutor.
I could argue don't remove your demonic tutor, but that's depending on the strategy.
That's true. I guess it depends on what you're using Demonic Tutor for. Demonic Tutor is going for a combo piece every time, then maybe not. If Demonic Tutor is just going to find that one card you put in the deck like 2 weeks ago and you haven't drawn the damn thing.
If you're playing Demonic Tutor and or Tainted Pact, you are not grabbing that card you just got 2 weeks ago. You are always grabbing the same card.
Oh, I've done it. I've absolutely done it. I've been in games like, you know what? I just haven't seen this thing yet. I need to know if I'm supposed to keep it or cut it. Just come here. Now, normally it's been like very early in the game where it's not super inconsequential to do
Right.
it. Yeah, I've absolutely done that on multiple occasions where it's like a new card or like it's some weird equipment that I put in a deck that I've been wanting to try out. I've absolutely done it in games.
I have never put those into a deck and gone, you know what I should do with this? Look around.
Oh, I'll do that. I'll tutor for something stupid.
That's the pristine time to fuck around.
Yeah. I also feel like if you're dropping down from like if you're trying to bring your bracket 5 to a 4, increase your land count, get rid of your Cheerios.
Well, 5 to 4 is just stop being at a specific tournament. That's
Fair.
literally all 5 to 4 is.
Yes, but I think you also get a bit more wiggle room with that.
Truthfully, I can see JM's point about putting in more lands because playing with Joe Johnson, you find out that a lot of his 4s only run 30 lands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's more of like CEDH level in my mind.
And his
4 and 5s.
4s and 5s, yeah. His decks are really interesting because if you can shut down the land, if you can strip mine him, if you can wasteland, or you can just tap down a couple of them, then you can really fuck up his day. And it's hilarious.
Overloaded Vandal Blast.
The last time I played with him, I was playing my Eldrazi deck, and he was on stacks, and I was sitting there going, well, it's turn 4, and I still have 15 mana, so I don't know what you're trying to do to me. I'm just going to play this Ulamog.
That's the way to get around stacks. Just have more mana.
Just keep pumping out mana creatures.
I was playing a game against a Mizzix deck, and I top-decked a Godfair statue. I was like, oh, cool. This does nothing. It was all like X-cost spells for the most part, or buyback, so it was just nobody was messing with any of the stuff. So he was just like at counters was up to like 13. So I was like, this is pointless. I could just absolutely hose the other two players, but I'm hoping they can help me eliminate the person. Spoiler alert, didn't happen.
No.
Never does. Going from 5 to 4, you get the ability to build a more well-rounded deck because you're not having to worry about a tournament meta versus just like anything under the sun, where you can be a bit more like, you don't have to run Chain of Vapor, you can run Beast Within more consistently and stuff like that.
Exactly,
Chain of Vapor has also kind of been dropping out of the meta only because of Into the Flood Moth has just strictly better.
Instead of the 1 mana bounce, you can put in like something that I'm just going to blow up a thing.
I'm just going to bounce that thing and give someone a fish.
And then in bracket 4, they just cast the next turn because they're still alive because we're not necessarily killing people on turn 2, and then they laugh.
Exactly.
Truthfully, the opinion that I have when it goes from downgrading from a 5 to a 4 is that you're realizing that the deck that you may have thought would be good in a tournament meta just isn't. And so you still want to play with that power, but you then understand probably not in that way.
That you're not going to play white, the most explosive, the best deck, because you're just not in the meta.
And it's, that's kind of a place where you can go do your fringe CH thing, kind of bring it back down. There's a few decks that we kind of were flavor of the month at some point in time that are no longer relevant. Like the perfect example, I think, right now would be Narset and Light and Tutor. Like used to be the absolute stallion, but like it's a power level 4. Like there might be every once in a while someone who's like still committed to the bit, but for the most part, like you're gonna put that in bracket 4. You're gonna do Planeswalker or extra turn stuff. I've seen some Voltron builds that were kind of cool, and I've seen some token decks that are hilarious because it's a 0 creature token deck, and you can play 1/1 Pegasi equal to your life total to your little heart's content.
Truthfully, I think the actual flavor of the month right now, since it is just fresh, is Hashaton. And I've seen it in some tournaments, and it struggles.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just getting those discard pieces to get those stacksy creatures
consistently,
You're so vulnerable in that deck because all of your discard pieces, except for like 2 of them, are creatures, and you just struggle with it because you have to have 4 mana. You're turn 3, probably turn 2 or 3 before you get your first creature, because you have to play Hashaton, you have to play your Tortured Existence, you have to have a creature in hand that you need to discard, and have the mana to get it back. So
And that's if you're trying to do that kind of infinite combo and not just try to have a protected Thassa's win.
Exactly. If you do a protected Thassa's win, I mean, even then you have to have even more mana at that point. You're overpaying for Thassa.
You got to buy the protection. With all that being said, I think Hash Time, maybe a year from now, might be more of a bracket 4 kind of commander when everyone's had their fun. Maybe
Exactly.
we get something in Final Fantasy or Avatar that's absolutely bonkers that just resets it into the meta and it goes bananas. We just don't really know. But I think there's a lot of it's like the powerful older commanders just simply aren't at the level of being in a tournament viable setting without just being stubborn. I could take a random pile of 100 cards, put it in a tournament and call it a CDH deck, but I'm probably not going to have a good time.
No.
Yes. Lavinia 99 Islands.
Damn right. The story with that is our buddy Jacoby, we needed to get him a pass for the convention, and the only ones that left were the CDH tournament. So I was like, I'm going to put in a deck list so absurd. We're obviously proving that we're not intending to play in this tournament to possibly get a refund for the lower price later. So I put in Lavinia Azorius Renegade because it was the only card on my desk at the time, and 99 Islands. So physically can't cast the commander.
Good job.
So probably the worst CDH deck ever submitted for a tournament.
And he won.
I don't know. Seen some real bad ones.
Yeah, and he topped 8.
I got there. Just kept offering draws to people and they took it. I don't know what happened.
Seriously. Just a free, easy $200.
That'd be so funny if like you ended up getting into a top 16 and like Comedian had to do a deck tech report on just an absolute deck that couldn't do anything, but you just
So
our buddy Tyler has a similar story to this where he top 8'd in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament because he had 3 buys in a row and then played in the final.
Oh my god.
Who hated him? Like you're going to go to this tournament and just not play Yu-Gi-Oh. You're not doing anything.
Or doing them a favor. I think
I was going to say you're probably not playing Yu-Gi-Oh if you go to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. It depends on if you go first or not.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Fair, cruel but fair.
It's not even that cruel. Yu-Gi-Oh players themselves, when they play Magic, are like, "Oh, you mean I actually get to play the game?"
I'm still waiting for that Yu-Gi-Oh Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond crossover to just destroy the meta.
Yeah, it's gonna be full art. There's no text. You have to Google what the card does.
Oh yeah.
You mean like now?
They're gonna make the card slightly smaller just to throw off everybody.
Well, so the card is the same size, but there's just a bigger black box around the card.
Love it.
Not the bigger, blacker box.
Same attack.
Yeah, it's the BBC. Bigger, blacker cards.
Not good.
Joe did a full setup.
I am in fact going to clip that so I can send it to you for your soundboard, JM. My God.
Thank you, kind sir.
And if everyone looks over to the left about 200 yards, that's where the tracks were. We are off into the desert.
Hey, you're always 2 clicks away.
Always. Do you think at this point with the power brackets as they are, with the exception, of course, of the ones that are considered game changers, do you think there's any commanders that are just simply beyond saving going into a bracket 2, maybe 3? They're doomed to be at the high power. There's nothing you can do about it. Yoda? SpongeBob, you mean?
Yeah, specifically SpongeBob. Things like that. I think like he is going to change. Like if he is in your deck or is in the 99, he is a tutor. He is an anthem. He is changing the game.
Maybe, but at the same time,
well, like we've seen before, like even my Joda deck, which was like we had to have the whole table try to take me down.
That is true.
Before I got my stacks pieces out, because like I was playing Planeswalkers. Yeah. So it was a race between like what I could get out between what you could stop me doing.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think like maybe Kalia of the Vast is one of those. She always kind of shows up, and if you can protect her, that's the problem.
Urza, I would say, was another one.
Urza?
Yeah. Urza being a game changer.
Well, Urza's a game changer.
Yeah, the mono blue Urza.
That one is, in fact, on the game changer list. But it's not baby mono blue Urza.
No.
I think you could make a case for Toxrill being able to go down.
Toxrill, considering it's a stacks piece in the command zone, is, and not just a stacks piece, really
he does so much. He's a stacks piece, but he's also like a board wipe and a token creator.
I was gonna say it's a lockout piece, which yeah,
You could definitely build a anti-synergistic,
which
crappy
kinda
deck.
wanna I kinda wanna try to do with Toxrill.
So,
Off Octavia with that Gary nonsense.
so I will
I've already
say
bought the deck box. We're going.
Octavia already bought it too.
I would in fact say that Toxrill is fine not being on there because it is in fact still 7 mana.
Oh yeah, no, it's 7 mana.
Hmm.
It is absolutely a pain in the ass to get out.
The main reason why all of the others are on there as they are is because they are very simple to get out on like a turn 2 if you're just pretty much playing out in curve. 3
If you're playing
definitely.
their curve, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you have like a Dark Writ or like fast mana of any kind.
And then just the immense value that they provide of just Yuriko, Winota, Grand Arbiter Augustin, Urza, all of those.
Yeah.
So it would have to
I
be
also
something
feel-
within there.
I also feel like another thing that this doesn't take into consideration is like typal synergies.
Which I also brought up in the
Yeah,
podcast.
I believe Urza's Saga, or not Urza's Saga, Urza's Incubator should be on the colorless game changers list. Because if you're running an Urza's Incubator, that's not necessarily a cheap card. You're definitely putting some thought into buying that card, into putting it into your deck.
No, truthfully, I don't feel that is correct. I think the fact that if you are running a Kindred strategy, you probably are still going to be at a 3 because Kindred strategies typically synergize extremely well. You're not really putting any specific kind of card on the game changer. You're just saying that the strategy of Kindred can just be relegated to 3 at a usual minimum.
I think it depends because you can also the Lathro Precon came out. That's a typal synergy deck.
Yeah.
I would put it at a 2.
Well, I don't know. Depending that
The Lathral Precon unmodified, I believe, is a 2. It had some real weird pieces in it that did not work with that deck.
To be fair, I guess I've only seen like the more optimized ones that people are making with it.
So I think Lathral, I don't think there's anything that really says that they have to be 3s or 2s. Several of them, of course, the most popular ones, angels, elves, dragons, Eldrazi, are very popular. Goblins are very, very popular because they are very, very powerful, but I don't think they necessarily are because of any specific card. More so just those have had 30 years of support.
The Fairy Demir Precon, I think, was very much a 2 as well.
Yeah.
I think you definitely could have ramped it up, but I still have it together. I've upgraded the tapped lands to be untapped a little bit and swapped the commanders. I'm still playing Runaway together and stuff like that. Very just sneaky stuff. I'm not necessarily trying to win. I'm just doing devious little bastard things the whole time.
Yeah, I think that deck, again, is a 2 as well. It's fine. I think a lot of the precons, even if they were typal, they don't struggle, but they're not the best.
Yeah, I also feel that WotC has a weird thing with putting tap lands in precons, and I feel like we could kind of get away with that. We have enough cheap untapped lands that they could start using those. I guess they have a theme of like precons have tap lands in them, and then obviously that might make them faster. But like we've said, precons can be in the 2 and 3 realm now.
I mean, thing about
look, all I know is that every precon should in fact include the comes and tap unless you have 2 or more opponents.
Oh yeah, the battle bond lands.
Single one.
The battle bond land should be in every single precon forever.
At least one, yeah. Everyone should have one, yeah.
Yes, everyone should have at least one battle bond land.
Yeah, yes. Or an Amulet of Vigor. Reprint that into the ground if you're going to put so many tap lands and things.
I've noticed with the Universes Beyond precons, they usually do a lot better job with the mana bases.
They do because they charge more.
They charge
they're taking a premium product, yeah.
Premium product, and they can put some better reprint stuff in there with the new Fallout art or the Final Fantasy art or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun to see.
I also love the full arts and the precons. Let's keep doing that.
For sure.
The commanders being the full art.
Yeah, and the lands. I love that.
And then I think my final nomination for I don't think this could be built at a casual level would be Miriam Sentinel Worm, our absolute stallion that after being debuted of not being in the Teamer Precon deck, which why did we expect that to be in the Teamer Precon deck as a D&D card, is up to like $16.
Just 16?
And that's the copy dragons one, right?
Oh, Octavia, it started before the previews at
No,
$1.
Well, no shit, because it's Miriam. But I'm thinking of Dragon, who's got to be up near 100 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
But Miriam's really strong in your command zone.
In Miriam, you could pull out of booster packs.
That
Like
too.
cheap booster packs.
You could technically pull Dragon out of booster packs too,
But not as cheap though.
Oh,
That was definitely a premium product.
yeah, that's
You
a
could
word
even
for it.
buy just the face for some reason, and they looked awful.
Yes, it
I
is.
like that one. You hush up.
I'm trying to think of other dragons. I mean, but dragon. I don't know. Don't get me started on
Dragons.
dragons. Don't get me started on dragons. That's another.
I'm
half
not
hour
even
race.
worried about. I'm not even worried about.
Octavius, hear me out as dragons.
That's another half-hour rant that I want to say. Dragons suck.
Mine is
Oh, hey,
elves.
that
I
was
don't like
very
elves
condensed.
as a typo.
Oh, hey, Jacoby is missing out because
Spirit
that's
of
it.
Jacoby's here.
The spirit of Jacoby is here with JM saying elves.
Yeah,
He's here
I
in the
love
show.
elves in like an RPG in a Final Fantasy setting, but like I feel like they are the most uncool thing in MTG ways.
Elves are great. Racist little bastards.
Good old fantasy racism.
Oh, I'm talking about the Lorwyn ones that are, just fantasy racists all the way through.
Are those the bugs ones or are those the fairy ones?
Those are the fairies. The Lorwyn elves are beautiful and hate and kill anyone who is not beautiful, which is every other race on Lorwyn.
Isn't that also including themselves if they don't?
It is. That's why the Blight, oh gosh, what are they? The Eye Blights are elves that are ugly, that have been
Excommunicated.
banished, basically. Yeah, they've been excommunicated from the elf tribe. And then when Shadowmoor happens, they all become really ugly and also eugenics purists. It's really weird.
I shot that guy in Red Dead Redemption.
My God. Take us home, Levi.
All right. Was there any other final comments before closing out here as far as the power brackets? We'll do some bold take predictions here. Do we think we're going to see anything with the brackets themselves? Not the game changers, but the brackets themselves.
Some
Go.
called shots from when this will air. Because this is
Yeah,
airing
so-
in like May after it.
We're going to get roasted in the comments regardless. It's fine.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
3 comments, but it'll be good.
I'm all 3 of them, and I'm roasting me and Octavia and you. But yeah,
Unscathed.
I
Great.
yeah, that's right. You are a beautiful soul. That's right.
I'm coming in the comments twice at you, Joe. It's fine. We'll bounce it out.
Can I get a clip of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Levi coming at me. Oh boy.
It will coming in the comments. So I think once we hammer out more check boxes under the what does this do in this thing, fully solidify what it means to be a bracket 1, a bracket 2, a bracket 3. I also feel like we need to work on the little blip above it, the average current pre-constructed deck. I feel like that needs to be a little bit more thought out and full versed, a little bit more encompassing of a statement. Because like I like 3 beyond the strength of an average precon deck, but I feel like they could add a little bit more buffer in there.
I think that makes sense.
Maybe giving us like land counts. I know that's like a little bit more restrictive at that point. I don't know what exactly the move would be.
The archetype too, because like a landfall deck's going to have a lot more, but I think that I would call that a strength rather than a weakness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where do we put certain strategies? Is certain strategies more powerful than other strategies just as a base level?
I think
No.
inherently, but also it depends on if you could pilot it. Like I'm sure.
Yeah. A mill strategy with Brewvac is obviously much more strategy than without Brewvac.
Truthfully,
I
I think the strategies are going to be really hard to try and go into brackets.
Oh, yeah, that's
even
not
with,
a bracketable thing, I don't think.
even with
Yeah.
the kindred thing. That is just you're probably not going to be at the pre-con level just because synergies. That's where it's really hard to just get in. But I do feel like if you're getting real hard into synergies, that's when you have to really.
Yeah,
move up
like
the
my
bracket.
Sidar Jabroni is a 3, feels like a 4 sometimes, feels like a 3 sometimes.
See, I think one thing that they're going to have to change is the no 2-card infinite combos in 2. I think they are going to have to expand exactly what that means. So that's going to be something that, while maybe not removed, does have to have more change
Defined, clear cut.
Yeah, it has to be more defined, especially because when 3 says late game 2-card infinite combos is okay, what is late game? What is early game?
Yeah, is that
You
turn
know,
6? Is that turn 7?
is it fine for me to play my Exquisite Blood Sanguine Bond on turn 6 as opposed to turn 5? Is 5 early game and 6 late game? Do I just get to, or can I not cast it till 10? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, or are you basically holding up one is on the board and one is in your hand until you reach that like magical number?
Yeah, it's like, do I have to do that? And what are my things? Where does that line? That line is going to have to be way more defined if they want to keep it as 2-card infinite combos and late game and no restriction. Those are going to have to be more defined as to what they are. I hate the no extra turns even in bracket 1 because there are some cards that are bracket 1 even though they give you extra turns. Seed
Like-
Time.
Oh yeah, I love Seed Time. That's in my Halden
One
and
in
Paco CDH deck.
It's so bad. 1 in a green for a sorcery that says if another player cast a blue spell on your turn, you may play this card.
Yeah,
And get
and so
another turn.
also a weird thing, I'm looking on Moxfield right now. Moxfield in their bracket 3 says no 2-card combos.
Are you sure it's just that there are no 2-card combos in that deck currently?
In that deck that you're using?
Well, so Moxfield doesn't tell you 2-card combos. They don't have that
that's
ability.
because that's just because of how many there are and how some can just slip past. The best you could probably do is have a collaboration between Commander Spellbook and Moxfield and all of those sites to try and really generalize those down.
Yeah, we need to really hammer in and solidify and have this.
Which they're trying
Yeah,
to do like EDH
because yeah, looking at it, it says there are no 2-card combos in their bracket 3 decks.
I think Moxfield's like one of the only sites that EDH Rec doesn't pull data from.
Correct.
So they do not have a working relationship like that to be sharing Commander Spellbook. Architect, that would be interesting if they came out and said, hey, we'll let you borrow the IP for Commander Spellbook to identify combos in your deck to kind of make Architect a bit more popular. Because I think at this point, I would argue Moxfield's the superior product between the two.
It is. I think it's the easier to use and the better laid out and the more supported, but
they definitely have a lot of features in common, and I've seen the ebbs and flows from both of them. It's definitely a preference thing at this point, I think, especially since Architect has made some great strides from where they previously were.
That's fair. I haven't checked them out recently, so I'm just
I think we used to be Architect, but then we went to Moxfield.
Yeah.
Joe, did you have anything you think might be added to the brackets or taken away?
Truthfully, I think that they need to add more questions to the brackets because they intended for the bracket system in its entirety as a conversation starter. So what they could do is in fact add some questions for people who may even be new to EDH to just be able to ask to more experienced players and then be able to help them along. I think that one would be the best thing to do is just add questions that people could ask.
Well, because you could ask yourself these questions, but then you could ask your pod these questions.
Exactly.
That's fair. I like that.
I think it's good. For me, I think that there needs to be a separation between emotion and threat level assessment with their power bracket rankings.
I do have one more. That is something that the Command Zone certainly brought up when they talked about the brackets. Just add bracket 6, no ban list. Do it. Add it in.
Well, so
no
to
ban
be fair,
list.
I feel like they won't do that because if you're playing in a thing where you're playing no ban list, you're going to do that anyways, regardless of what the rules are. And you don't really need a bracket for it.
Yeah.
Luther gets slapped in the face. Just
because that's like Wild Wild West stuff. Like they're kind of playing that game anyways.
I mean, also fair, but then it also just says, hey, if you want to play this way, legitimize it.
I mean, I don't think it needs to be legitimate. I think there's a little bit of an edge to no ban list commander. Like it's kind of a exciting.
Yeah.
Don't play Tinker, get out of Blightsteel, drop a balance, and wreck everyone's face. Sounds fun.
Do it, Wizards.
Like, would I do it
Bracket
all the
6.
time? No, but yeah, no ban list commander. It would definitely be a thing. Ultimately, like when you have some of these stuff that they just don't seem to like at the lower levels, I could build a stacks deck or like a kind of a taxing deck that might be more like a 2 or 3, like not particularly strong, but it's going to slow the game down. A lot of these strategies are getting inherently pushed into higher powers, which may or may not be conducive just because people may not like them. So I
Mhm.
think that's something that they need to address when they're putting together the brackets, because playing degenerate things and having like a powerful deck, I might have like a basic stacks deck, but if I go against a deck that's trying to combo on like turn 5 or 6, I may not have the resources in the deck to handle it. I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
And then like one last thing is like the power gap, like you said. I feel like with the least amount of numbers, your power 3 and my power 3 is a giant gap right now. And
Yeah.
like it really focuses on that conversation. I do like that these bracket systems are making more people have this conversation. Even if it is a meme like sarcastic conversation, it is still making them have the conversation whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that is all the time we have for this episode. Octavia, JM, thank you so much for joining us on.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. You guys are absolutely blessed.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Well, I've been Levi,
And I'm Joe.
and this has been The Thought Vessel. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
No ban list, Commander Bracket 6. Make it happen.
Stab it.